Hello guys, welcome back to our channel Mo and Ash Vibes. We are back with another video on IELTS. We all know that IELTS plays such an important role when you are planning to come to Canada. Whether you are planning to come here as a student or whether you are applying for your file under Express Entry program, in both the cases you will have to give your IELTS exam. Therefore, it becomes really important that you prepare for this exam so well that you get a really good score. So in this video, I am going to talk about some basic but very important tips that will help you in your preparation. Use these tips when you are preparing for your exam, as these tips will help you to figure out what important things you need to take care of. So let's get started. So my first tip to you is that know the current format of your exam. I know that it sounds really basic, but as I mentioned to you in the beginning, that in this video we are going to talk about some basic things, some basic tips that are extremely important. So definitely you should read about the current format of your exam, because this way you would know that how many questions will be asked from you, what kind of questions will be asked, and how much time will you get to answer those questions. So this way you would be able to manage your time. This way you will be able to distribute your time amongst those questions. So knowing the format of your exam will help you manage those things. My second tip to you is that along with knowing the format of your exam, you should also know about the question types that will be asked from you, which means you should know about that what kind of questions will be asked from you. Let me give you an example. Now in IELTS listening, you can be given a diagram labeling question as well as a multiple choice question. Now each of these questions have their own technique and method. There is a different strategy to attempt a multiple choice question and a different strategy to attempt a diagram labeling question. So therefore it is extremely important that you know about these different question types, what different question types can be asked from you, so that you can prepare for your exam accordingly depending on the question type. My third tip to you is that you should know how your IELTS exam is marked. I know that a lot of you might be thinking that this is again so simple and basic. We know that the IELTS exam is marked in bands, with 9 being the highest band. But when I am saying you to know that how your IELTS exam is marked, what I basically mean is that you should know that what is the examiner trying to assess through your answers. Again, let me give you an example. In IELTS writing task 1, where you have to write a letter. So when you're writing a letter, what is the examiner trying to assess? The examiner is trying to assess various things. For example, the examiner is trying to assess whether you know how to begin the letter, whether you know how to end the letter, whether you know how to link your letter, how to link each paragraphs, how is the flow of information, is the information laid out in an organized and consistent way. So there are various things that an examiner is trying to assess. So therefore it becomes really important that you know that on what factors you will be marked, so that you can prepare accordingly. So if you know that what your examiner is looking for, or at least if you know that on the basis of what skills your exam will be assessed and marked, then you can work on those things right from the beginning, and you can keep those things in mind when you are preparing for your exam. This brings me to my next tip, which is that always know about your band descriptors. Band descriptors are factors on the basis of which your English skills are assessed. So you should always know about your band descriptors, whether it's for IELTS listening, for speaking, for writing, or for reading. You should always know about your band descriptors. Some examples of band descriptors are fluency, coherence, which means how your ideas flow together, lexical resource, which means are you using the appropriate and relevant words to express your opinion, are you clear in your ideas. So these are all some examples of the band descriptors. Similarly, your pronunciation, your grammar, your task achievement, all these band descriptors are extremely important, because these will determine how good your English is. Whether you are a limited user of English, whether you are good at it, whether you're extremely good at it, very good at it, or whether you're an expert in English. So these band descriptors will determine those factors, and thus your marking will be done accordingly. My next very important tip to you is that no matter what exam you're giving, whether it's IELTS reading, writing, speaking, or listening. Make sure that you read your instructions properly, and make sure that you listen to your audio instructions properly as well. I know that it may seem a very obvious thing to do, but let me tell you, a lot of times people do not listen to their instructions properly. They do not read their instructions properly, because of which they make silly mistakes and because of which they lose their points. Let me give you an example. So in IELTS reading, let's say you have to complete a sentence and you have to choose no more than 2 words from the passage in order to complete that particular sentence. Now, instead of using 2 words from the passage, you used 3 words from the passage in order to complete that sentence. So in that scenario, your answer will be considered as a wrong answer, because instead of using 2 words, you used 3 words. So this is a very silly mistake to do, but you may lose a point because of the silly mistake, because it was very clear in the instruction that you cannot use more than 2 words. So which is why I said that it is extremely important that you read your instructions properly and also listen to your audio instructions properly. Now, when you're preparing for your IELTS exam, you should try to improve your English overall. So you should try to work on your vocabulary, try to work on your grammar, take care of your spellings, take care of your pronunciation. So you should work on your English language skills overall. But another very important thing that you should take care of is your synonyms and paraphrasing. So this is my next tip to you, that learn about synonyms and learn about paraphrasing. So you should be able to identify synonyms as well as you should be able to identify any paraphrases. Now, what exactly are synonyms and what is paraphrasing? Synonyms means same or similar meaning words, and paraphrasing means that you are saying the same thing or the same sentence in a different way by using different words or using different sentence structures, but the meaning of the sentence remains the same. Now, let me give you an example as to why it is really important to be able to identify synonyms as well as to be able to identify any paraphrases. Let's say in IELTS reading, you have to complete a sentence using the words that are given to you in a box. So there are a list of words that are also given to you in a box, and you have to choose the correct word from that particular list of words in order to complete your sentence. Now, that information is given in the passage, but in the passage they have not used the same word, but instead a synonym has been used. So a word has been used that has the same meaning, a similar meaning, but not the exact same word. So in this situation, you should be able to identify the synonym so that you can write the correct answer. In this situation, if you are unable to identify the synonym, then it would be absolutely impossible for you to find the answer, as the exact same word is not given, which is why it is extremely important that you identify the word which has the same meaning, which means identify the synonym so that you can complete your answer. So definitely work on this point. Similarly, for paraphrasing, let's say a question has been asked from you. That information is given in the passage, but it has been paraphrased, which means it has been given in a different way. The sentence structure is different, or maybe they have said the same thing in a different way using different words. So in that situation, you should be able to identify the information that has been paraphrased so that you can find the correct answer. So definitely you should also learn about paraphrasing. You should be able to identify paraphrases so that you can understand that the information is given, it's just laid out in a different way, in a different sentence structure, or different words have been used. So therefore it is extremely important to be able to identify synonyms as well as paraphrases. So keep this in mind when you are preparing for your IELTS exam. The next tip that I'm going to give you is particularly related to IELTS reading, but this tip is going to be really helpful for you in your IELTS reading exam. And the next tip is that you should learn about your skimming and scanning technique. Now, what exactly is skimming and scanning? Now, skimming is when you go through the paragraph, when you go through the passage quickly in order to have the general idea of the passage, in order to know what exactly the passage is all about. In the skimming process, you don't have to read anything in detail. through skimming, you are just trying to have a general idea of the passage. Now, I would say that you should do your skimming before you start reading the questions, because if you will do the skimming first, then you would know that what the passage is all about, and then when you will read the question, then you will be able to relate the information more easily, and thus finding the answers will become easier. When you are going through your passage, also make sure that you mark or underline the important keywords. Now, once your skimming is done, then you go through the questions. And now when you will go through the questions, as I said, now because you've done your skimming, you've marked your keywords, you would be able to relate the information more easily. You will be able to figure out that where the answer could be in the passage. So a question has been asked from you, because now you have a general idea of the passage, you should be able to figure out that maybe you can find the answer in a particular line in the passage or in a particular paragraph in the passage. So instead of reading the whole paragraph in detail right from the beginning, you can now read that particular part of the passage more in detail. So let's say a passage has been given to you and you have 4 paragraphs in that passage. Now, because you've done your skimming process, you have marked your keywords, so now you should be able to figure out, oh, maybe the answer is in the 3rd paragraph. Then instead of reading all the 4 paragraphs in detail, now you can just go through the 3rd paragraph particularly more in detail in order to find the correct answer. And this process is known as scanning. So definitely skimming and scanning techniques are extremely important so that you can find your answers easily. So skimming is again just going through the paragraph in order to have a general idea of the paragraph, marking the keywords, and in the scanning, reading a particular part of the paragraph more in detail where you feel the answer could be, so that you can go into the details of that particular information and find the correct answer. So definitely work on your skimming and scanning techniques. So guys, these are some important basic tips that you must keep in mind when you start preparing for your IELTS exam. There is a lot of information out there where they tell you how to score more in IELTS and how to score high bands in IELTS. But I think if you want to score really good in IELTS, your process begins right at the basic level when you start preparing for your exam. So if you know all these things right from the beginning, then you can prepare for your exam accordingly, and your base foundation will be very strong. So make sure that you go through these tips and apply these tips when you are preparing for your IELTS exam, so that your preparation is so strong that you are definitely prepared to get a high score in IELTS. Still, if you have any questions related to our today's topic, feel free to comment in the section below and I will reply to you as soon as possible. If you feel that our today's information was useful for you, this video has helped you in any way, please hit the like button. And also, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please subscribe to our channel and as well share the content. Now I will see you in our next video. Until next time, ta-da!